Welcome, dear followers. The continuation of the book Optimal Nutrition by Dr. Jan Kwaśniewski. Preface to the Polish edition. The first edition of this book was printed in 1990. It was intended for patients who came for 2- and 3-week health sessions at the Arcadia Health Academy, which I ran. For the length of their stay, they were fed optimally, as well as taught the theory and practice of optimal nutrition. Upon course completion, they were then given this book and to understand the deeper sense of optimal nutrition and continue their new diet while at home. The book was not available in bookshops back then. A second book, printed for a wider audience, came out in 1996 and achieved considerable success. A year later, the WGP Publishing House printed another book, Tłuste Życie, in English Live on Fat, which was a collection of answers to the most common questions about the optimal diet. Książka kucharska, the English translation, The Optimal Diet Course Book, came out in 1998. This book contained 700 different recipes, all in keeping with the optimal diet. Hundreds of thousands of those 3 books have been sold. They have been read by great numbers of people in Poland and elsewhere. The first translation of one of my books was done in 1998. Now, besides this English version, books are being translated into German and French. A regional newspaper from Silesia has been printing my articles about the optimal diet for 4 years now. These articles also answer letters from sick people. The column has achieved such success that for the past year it has come out twice weekly. A second Polish newspaper started printing my articles in 1998, which received a similar reception. The interest in my nutritional theories in Silesia is enormous, and I have received an almost innumerable number of letters. Although I try to read every letter, there is no way that I can answer everyone individually. I try to reply to the issues brought up in the letters in my column. I would estimate that most than 2 million people in Poland already follow the optimal diet, half of whom live in Silesia. There are now a few dozen doctors in Poland and abroad who treat their patients with the optimal diet and selective currents, which is another way of my innovation. The confidence these doctors must have in the diet to recommend it to their patients comes from their own family's adherence to it. With their personal experience comes understanding of optimal nutrition science and the ability to use it to help the sick people under their care. Optimal eaters have begun to organize from the grassroots up. The first club of optimal eaters was formed and continued to be vigorous and effective. The Polish National Brotherhood of Optimal Eaters is now a legally recognized association that aims to promote optimal nutrition, press the domestic food industry to cater the needs of optimal nutrition, help out new optimal dieters, and set up treatment centers along the lines of the Arcadia Academy in Poland and elsewhere. There are already residents of many other countries who know my diet and would like to come to Poland to regain their health. These people, who may number in the tens of thousands, are ready and willing to pay for this but have nowhere to go. The learned nutritionists and doctors who are in charge of things here neither are capable of understanding the science, I profess, nor want to apply it in practice. Might something change in the future? The learned is in speech marks. Regional brotherhoods of the optimal have been popping up. Optimal eaters are banding together in Austria, the Czech Republic, Canada, the USA, and Australia. Other optimal eaters live on the Canary Islands and in Oman. I have written my books with average Joe and Jane Smiths in mind. That is why they have been written in fairly simple and understandable language, as opposed to scientific jargon and buzzwords. They are designed most of all for people who are sick, but will also be relevant to people still enjoying good health. Some things may surprise them, and others may cause disbelief because they go against all the basic principles of official and popular nutritional guideliners. That is why people who are just beginning to follow the optimal diet should ask more senior optimal eaters for guidance. Optimal eater brotherhoods have been formed precisely for the purpose, so that people can share their experience, advise one another, and clarifies things that would otherwise be worrisome. This book is most of all for the people who would like to take up the eating habits I advocate. Even so, someone who has already been on the optimal diet for quite a while will also find out some new things. In this book, I discuss type 1 diabetes for the first time so that people suffering from this horrible disease can cure themselves and that others can know of the dangers that may be facing and protect themselves from it. Here I also suggest ways of feeding newborns and young children. This area had not previously been adequately explained. Mothers on the optimal diet not only give birth almost painlessly, but are also blessed with very nutritious and fatty breast milk. Practically every child should be breastfed. Artificial formulas should be given only in exceptional cases, and even then should be as chemically similar to fat-rich breast milk. Here you will find recipes for such formulas. This book also discusses the old bugbear, cholesterol, so that readers can understand why blood cholesterol levels are of no significance to people on the optimal diet. Furthermore, I explain why new optimal eaters who have started the diet to overcome sclerosis should see their disease fade away even faster when their HDL cholesterol level is high. Many patients have contacted me to say that by being on the optimal diet, they have cured themselves of many diseases and had felt great until they had a blood cholesterol test done. Sometimes the levels are indeed high. When they show this result to their doctors, the doctors immediately frighten them by saying that with such a cholesterol level, they are going to come down with liver disease, that they are risking sclerosis, diabetes, and only God knows what else. The poor fellow, believing in the doctor's authority, sometimes breaks off the diet. This is a mistake, because the doctor sermonizes not on the basis of science, but of his or her own opinions, without even checking what healing properties of high-fat diet may have and what role cholesterol plays in a person's treatment. Such sermonizing and ignorance are going on in spite of the health service's duty to test and study every treatment method so that it can definitely conclude whether the treatment is useful, and if so, against which diseases and ailments, whether it helps all sufferers or only some, even if it is actually dangerous. Researchers should then pass the information on so that sufferers of a particular disease can decide for themselves which treatment is most likely to be the most effective and the least expensive. There are diseases that medical establishment is even today unable to cure. Alternate practices, including the optimal diet, should be looked into, especially for such maladies. They could start with type 1 diabetes, take a group of diabetics and divide them into groups according to the treatment method they would like to try out. After 6 and 12 months on their chosen treatment, check if any diabetics manage to rid themselves of their diseases, and if so, how many. It will turn out that no diabetic who opted for a method commonly applied in modern medicine will have managed to eliminate the disease, but 80% of those who picked the optimal diet will have overcome their disease, and that the remaining 20% are going to be in better, though not perfect health. This is exactly how I tested the effectiveness of optimal nutrition on diabetes and other sicknesses. I found out that it does not do harm to anyone and leads to any improvement in the health of everyone without exception. Many diseases disappear without a trace, including ones that modern medical theory considers incurable. There are many people who put their faith in even the most unscientific treatment methods, but prayer, telehypnotism, or a faith healer's laying of hands. At first, they begin to believe that their health will get better and later resign themselves to fate when it in fact gets worse. I do not want many patients to have faith in me. I want them to see for themselves that what I write about and have pioneered is indeed a science. I want them to understand why they should eat in one particular way and to know what to expect if they decide to eat and behave in a different way. It is up to optimal dieters themselves to spread the word about optimal nutrition in their own local environments. The quicker the number of people on the optimal diet grows, the faster the overall health of their nations will improve. With improved physical health comes better mental health, and with it a chance for people to gain knowledge and even wisdom they otherwise would not. If there were more wisdom, that is, the knowledge of how things come about, on this earth, there would be a hope for a more sensible world, one without hunger, hatred, war, violence, and all else that is plaguing humankind. I read these few sentences once more. I'm reading. The quicker the number of people on the optimal diet grows, the faster the overall health of their nations will improve. With improved physical health comes better mental health, and with it a chance for people to gain knowledge and even wisdom they otherwise would not. If there were more wisdom, that is, the knowledge of how things come about on this earth, there would be a hope for a more sensible world, one without hunger, hatred, war, violence, and all else that is plaguing humankind. Thanks for watching. See you.